I'm going to go through how to set up a ragged hierarchy, a parent-child hierarchy in the RPD, and then use that in data visualization. All of this is based on the documentation about that, which you'll find if you just Google parent-child configuration in OAC, you'll come to this site. Those hierarchies look something like this. They've got a parent, they've got children, and then children of children. And some of those, of course, are not necessarily down to the same level. And so what we're going to do is model this so that you can drill on Andrew down to Barbara down to Dawn, and then see a roll up of any kind of fact data that you wish to look at. As well, we'll also show how to not only aggregate up through the hierarchy, but retrieve for any given member, in addition to themselves and their children, if they have fact data attached directly to them, how to see that as well, all in the same line. So this mirrors really a lot like the EPM Essbase database. It stores aggregates. It allows you to navigate up and down hierarchies. And so really that's giving you the same kind of thing, but in relational tables. So let's go over to SQL Developer and take a look and see what that actually looks like. So this table here, the employees table, it's got an employee ID and it's got manager, and the managers are also employees. And so you've got a top level manager who's got an employee ID, and then they have employees under them. And then those people being managers themselves are reflected down through the hierarchy. In the configuration of all of this, you don't really need to concern yourself with any of the other attribute data. It's available for reporting, but we're going to focus really on employee and manager in that hierarchy. And then also we're going to attach that at the employee ID level to the sales fact table, and we're going to roll this up. So yeah. In this case, I've got 1,000 rows. The other thing I'll point out is that I created a view to be able to visualize this a little easier, and that is the employees view. And so you'll see here the top level employee is king, and then you've got the children under king, and so on and so forth. You'll see these are down at different levels, and you will see that the employee ID here is a manager. And then 148 is the manager as well, and down through the hierarchy. This particular view, it's using Oracle SQL. It allows you to see this. It uses connect by. It is definitely Oracle specific. It's not ANSI SQL. So if you want to do the same sort of thing, you'll have to figure it out in whatever database you're working in. But this it returns back the levels. And so you can walk down, you can see it goes down as deep as level 4. And then also indicates whether it's a leaf node or not. Okay, and then the last thing it shows is the distance from the different nodes, the children, the distance between the children and the managers. The other view I'll point out, again, this is strictly for visualization. We're not going to use it in the solution, but it's kind of helpful to be able to understand what the data looks like. I've flattened this. We've got level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 4 is really only applicable to these rows. And then these are the leaf nodes as well here. So let's move on to modeling, and that's done, of course, in the RPD. And so let me go to that. We'll do a full screen, and I'm going to wipe everything out in this RPD, and I'm going to start from scratch. So right click, delete. Well, I'll delete from the left to the right, the presentation layer. We'll delete that. We'll delete the entire model. You'll be able to, should be able to replicate this on your environment. And then we'll delete this and we'll start right from scratch. Delete. So we're going to start by importing metadata. And let's go next. And I've got my data sitting in the demo schema. And I've got other tables in here, but I'm going to pick the employee, the parent-child. Now, this table here actually is a script is generated for you in the BI server, and you would execute that on your database to create the table and populate it. We also have this, when you create that and run that in the BI layer, it models part of it for you. You have to finish that. I'm going to select it in the scenario that you've got that table, you've created that table yourself. There is a wizard for it, and I'll show you where that sits. And then we have the sales view, and we'll select those tables. We'll be very specific about that. And once we bring that, we've got to do a couple of things. We don't have foreign key relationships. If we did, the BI server would put those in for you, all the joins, but we don't have that. And so we'll have to do the joins ourselves, which is kind of useful because it shows you how it's all wired up. One other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create an alias of this. And so this will be the roll-up sales. And the second version will be the sales for each individual member. That's optional. You don't need that. If you don't have members that have data at aggregate levels, then don't worry about it. So I go in here and I'm going to do new object alias, and I'm going to call it member sales. So now the next thing we need to do is join these up. And so the employees, the member sales, the sales are going to go through this intersection table. Now, if you generate this table, it doesn't exist to begin with. So to be clear here, you would need to hold off on the joins till afterwards, because again, that table doesn't exist. You're going to model it. You're going to generate the script to create the table. You're going to run the script, and you need to go back here, pull this table in, and then finish the joins. I already have that table created, so I'm going to do the join. Right-click, physical diagram, selected objects. I'm going to create a join, new join to here. It is actually it's the member key to the employee ID. The employee ID is the key on the sales view, and the member key is the leaf node is on the Parentchild. We'll look at that in a minute. And I'm going to create another join because I have to ultimately connect back to the employees. So let's look at that. New join to here. It's going to be employee ID to ancestor key in this case. That's important distinction. The ancestor key is going to give you the roll up. That's kind of the parent, right? That's like, okay, I'm going to roll up sales, joining at the leaf node here to the parent node, and then upwards. So there's that. And then the other one is this here, and the member sales is a direct join to the dimension. And that's normally what you'd do if you didn't have parent-child hierarchical support. So we're going to go here, physical diagram, selected objects, go join, and we're going to go member sales to employees, employee ID to employee ID. And so you're done. So that's all the physical. There's only one other thing you need to do. And because this is, well, it's already done. So we've got an employee ID key. That's the primary key of the dimension table. Just important to note that. You'll need that. Now, at that point, you're pretty much done here. Again, just to remind you, this, if you didn't already have that and you needed to generate it, it wouldn't be here. You'd do the modeling, you'd come back, and it populates it with the wizard for you already. So let's drag that into the modeling layer. And we have physical joins here. We need to confirm that the logical joins exist. And it's here, business model, selected tables only. Fit. And so we have member sales to sales view. And we will create a join from sales view. Well, let's go back here. Let's create the dimension first. So right click. Well, we're going to do one other thing. I dragged the whole thing. I was a bit lazy. Let's delete that. I'll show you why later. Now we have the employees dimension. We have a fact table. We have a fact table. We right click, create logical dimension. We're going to do parent-child hierarchy. This is the member key. It's the employees key. That makes sense. This is the parent. The parent is the manager ID. So we have the parent, we have the member. Let's go to parent-child settings, and it's here that you have two choices. If you already have the table, you can select the table here and populate this. If you don't, you select here and it generates for you, which is great. So then you would just say, okay, this is my create. Let's just say create map table.sql, and it puts it here. I can browse and I can go to desktop. Okay. And then this one is populate map table.sql, and I'll put it on the desktop as well, right here. Next. And the table name, parent, actually I've already got it. So let's see what I've got, what I've called it. And that is in here. And I called it emp parent child. So let's go here and to call the name emp parent child. And next. And so it's already there. So I've already done this, but it would actually cancel. It would put that over here. That's what I'm telling you, that it actually does this work for you, but some of you may already have that table exist externally. So I'm showing you how that would be done manually. So the other thing I want to show you is like, wow, what does that script look like? It actually pops up a window that shows you that. And I'll open with Notepad. Really simple. Create table, emp parent child, member key, ancestor key, distance, and number. So you run that in your database. BI doesn't do that. You have to do that. That's kind of the one thing you've got to do. And this one, this is the procedure that populates it. This is Oracle SQL. So if you have an Oracle database, even an older one, even probably going back to version 11, this will run and it will create the table and populate it. Anytime your dimension changes, you have to rerun that. You have to truncate the table and you have to insert the rows. Dimensions are generally small. I'm sure even if it was 1 million, 2, 5, 10 million, this probably would take a few seconds to run. It really wouldn't take that long. So that's something you need to do separately. Let's go back to the modeling. And then once you've done that, this pops up. You do the joins like I just did. And then you have to do one other thing is the sources. You have to drag this source back into here. And parent child, there it is there. It's the sources there. So we're good to go with the dimension setup. And let's go back here. We actually haven't created it. So let's go parent-child hierarchy. We're going to pick the manager ID. We're going to hit parent-child settings. I already have one. So all I'm going to do is select it. Select. And then all I have to do is go down to the member key here. Member key is member key. Parent is ancestor key. Relationship distance is distance, and you can change the names, but column names, but then is leaf. Okay. Okay, you're done. You've got the hierarchy here and you got the relationships. There's only one more thing you need to do, and that is you need to set the aggregation here. So I select the amount sold and the quantity sold. I right click, set aggregation, set it to sum. Okay, done with that. That's member sales. Amount sold, quantity sold, right click, set aggregation, set it to sum. Okay. And there's tons of other settings here. Don't be too concerned. All the ones that you need to work with here are defaulted in for the most part. So you should be good at that at this point. And then the last thing is you literally just drag it over into the presentation layer. This is what people see. And the employees they'll see the hierarchy here. Look at it there. Great. I'm going to save it. Do you wish to go? Yes, you should. You should do that. And it should. I forgot actually one thing that doesn't get picked up. It's good that I actually ran that. There's one thing that doesn't get picked up here is the logical join between that and that. It picks up the member sales one. It does not pick up this, and it's the business model join. Let's go here, and the directions relevant as well. Go from the fact table to the employees. New join up to here. This sets your cardinality. So this is on the employees at 0 or 1 to many. Right? This is the fact table. This is the employees table. And you'll notice it's inner. So if you need to do some kind of an outer join, if you have multiple fact tables, for example, you might end up having some other fact tables that you're joined to that might have nulls in them as you aggregate up. So, BI handles all of that. So there it is there. Close. And so I'm going to save that. Do you wish to check? Yes, I do. It says business model is consistent. Do you want to mark it for available for queries? Yes. Okay, didn't find any issues. Then I'm going to make this the current model. So I'm going to go up to replace data model. I'm going to go here, pick it. It's this one, open it, and I'll put in the password. And that's the RPD password. And enter doesn't seem to work here. I had to just hit replace. This will take several seconds. And then the other thing to be aware of, it takes probably 3, 4, 5 minutes. I don't know. It takes a few minutes before the current RPD on the server is recognized. So if you jump immediately from here to creating a report, you're going to possibly see what the last RPD was. So if you're making changes in there, you have to be a little bit patient. You publish it, go get a coffee and come back, and then you'll be able to see those changes. So let me just go back to here, and we'll go back to my browser, go into here, go into here, don't save. And now we're ready to create a report. Like, this is what we did the modeling for. I'm going to create a project. I'm in data visualization here. It's a subject area. RPD is our subject areas. I'm going to select that. I'm going to add it to a project. Now you see my employees, my sales, my member sales. Let's take a look at this. It's got employee information, but this is what I really care about. And this looks familiar. It's the 100 is king. I could have put the name here, I suppose, but now you can drill down through and you say, yeah, but I need to aggregate my sales. And so I'm going to go up and do amount sold. And there it is there. And it's dynamically aggregating up through this ragged hierarchy from the leaf nodes up through the parents. And then the other interesting item, BI does this very elegantly under the covers. It's doing whatever types of aggregations you want. So if in this case you're a ragged hierarchy, you can say, well, I want to see the member 101 has sales of 11,000, and then that employee together with all their subordinates in aggregate have sales of 161. So you can independently see the sales and aggregated values, whether it's min, max, average, just whatever. You can see those aggregated independently, the member totals as well as the recursive aggregated totals through the hierarchy. So anyway, that is pretty much it. I will post the scripts that were generated for the roll-up, but again, that's Oracle SQL. I don't see any reason why someone who is competent or skilled in the process of writing code to create the other table from the parent-child relationships, they should be able to replicate that with some custom code on their own environments. So that is it.